There are things women want so deeply in a relationship that they will never say them out loud. Not because they are unimportant and not because they do not feel them strongly, but because for many women, the moment they have to ask for something, it loses the emotional meaning they wanted it to have in the first place. And that is exactly why so many men end up confused. They think everything is fine, while she has already replayed every disappointment in her mind, rewritten the story of the relationship, imagined the breakup, grieved it privately, and emotionally stepped back without him even noticing. Welcome back to Liz Rose Inspiration. I'm Liz Rose, and in today's video, we are opening a door that women almost never open themselves. What I'm about to share is not just interesting, it is relationship changing if you truly understand it. Let's start with something honest. I almost didn't make this video. Not because the subject is too bold, because trust me, I can handle bold. I hesitated because what I'm about to reveal breaks a silent code women have protected for years. But the truth is, some of the biggest relationship losses happen not because love is absent, but because understanding is. Researchers from the University of Texas, after studying communication patterns in romantic relationships over multiple years, found that 72% of women admitted they wanted specific things from their partner that they never once directly asked for. Not because they forgot, not because those things did not matter, but because they believed that if they had to explain it, it would no longer feel genuine. She would rather live without it than ask for it and feel like you only did it because you were instructed. That is not stubbornness. That is emotional wiring. And if you do not understand that wiring, you may keep losing women who truly loved you while never fully understanding why they pulled away. Now, yes, I gave this video a provocative title for a reason, but not just in the way you might assume. Some of what we are talking about does involve intimacy, but most of it is dirty in a much deeper emotional sense. These are the desires she buries because somewhere along the way, she learned that wanting too much makes her needy, wanting softness makes her weak, wanting leadership makes her old-fashioned, and wanting intensity makes her dramatic. So she hides it. She locks it away and hopes that somehow the right man will notice without being told. Today, we are bringing those hidden desires into the light. And stay with me, because number 3 is the one that silently destroys more relationships than people realize. No screaming, no huge fight, no dramatic ending. Just a slow emotional erosion until one day she is gone and you are left staring at your phone wondering when things changed. Number 7 is this. She wants you to interrupt her overthinking with physical certainty. Every woman has that moment where her mind won't stop. Maybe it is work stress. Maybe it is something a family member said. Maybe it is a text she keeps rereading. Maybe it is something small that somehow grew giant in her mind. Her thoughts are everywhere, and her nervous system is overwhelmed. Most men with good intentions try to solve the problem. They offer advice, solutions, next steps. Logically, that makes sense. But emotionally, it often misses the moment. What she secretly wants is not always a strategy. Sometimes she wants you to walk over, say nothing, pull her into you, kiss her forehead, hold her face gently, or wrap your arms around her and let your presence say what words cannot. You are safe here. You do not have to hold everything alone right now. Dr. Tiffany Field from the Touch Research Institute at the University of Miami has published extensive research showing that trusted physical touch can lower cortisol levels significantly within minutes. But beyond science, what matters is how it feels. It feels like safety. It feels like relief. It feels like finally being able to exhale. She may never ask for this because asking for comfort can feel like admitting weakness, especially for a woman who has trained herself to carry everything. So if you want to understand her better, stop only listening to her words and start paying attention to her body, her silence, her posture, her tension, her distance. Those are signals too. Number 6 is simpler than it sounds, but incredibly powerful. Say her name during meaningful moments, and not only during intimate moments, but in everyday connection too. There is something deeply personal about hearing your own name from someone you care about. Research published in Brain Research showed that hearing your own name activates areas of the brain connected to identity and self-representation. In simple terms, your brain hears your name differently from every other word. So when a man says her name with intention, it lands. It can be in closeness, in conversation, while cooking together, while telling a story, while calling her over just to look at her. Most men rely heavily on pet names like babe, baby, or hun. Those can be sweet, but they are also general. Her name is not general. Her name is hers. When you say it in a moment that matters, it reminds her that you are not just responding to a role she plays in your life. You are responding to her. She will probably never ask you to use her name more, because then it would feel forced. The beauty of it is when it comes naturally, like your mind instinctively reaches for the most personal word attached to her existence. Number 5 is one a lot of people misunderstand. She wants you to handle another man's attention toward her with calm dominance, not insecurity and not total indifference. She does not want a public scene. She does not want you acting reckless or possessive in a way that feels controlling. But she also does not want you acting like it means absolutely nothing when another man is clearly stepping into her space. If you stay completely passive, she may not read that as confidence. She may read it as disinterest. The attractive middle ground is composed strength. You step in naturally, a hand on her lower back, a calm look, a relaxed presence that says, I see what is happening and I do not need to panic to handle it. Evolutionary psychologist Dr. David Buss found that women often rated proportional mate guarding as attractive. The key word is proportional. Too much feels suffocating, too little feels like neglect. But that balanced response, where you acknowledge her value without turning into chaos, communicates confidence, investment, and grounded masculinity. And yes, that distinction matters. Claiming her through presence is very different from caging her through control. Number 4 is one of the most underrated forms of attraction. Take something off her plate without announcing it. Women often carry an invisible workload that many men never fully notice. The American Psychological Association's 2023 Stress in America survey found that women reported higher levels of chronic stress in nearly every major category. Work, family, home, scheduling, emotional labor, planning, remembering, all of it lives in her mind at once. What she often wants, but rarely asks for, is for you to notice something that needs to be done and just do it. Quietly, completely. No applause needed. The faucet is leaking and it gets fixed. The groceries are low and they are replaced. The car needs attention and it is handled. Researcher Eve Rodsky, in her work on cognitive labor, explains how many women carry the majority of this unseen responsibility in relationships. And what exhausts her is not just doing the task. It is being the only one responsible for remembering that the task exists at all. So when you take initiative, what she feels is not just help. She feels seen. She feels supported. She feels like she is not alone in managing life. And that is deeply attractive. She usually will not ask for this because having to explain what needs to be done is already more labor. Real relief comes when you notice without being told. Now we come to number 3, the relationship killer I warned you about. She wants to feel pursued even after you have already won her. This is where so many relationships quietly start dying. In the beginning, you were attentive. You texted first. You planned things. You complimented her. You were intentional. You made her feel chosen. Then somewhere after commitment, effort got replaced by assumption. Not because love disappeared, but because comfort slowly turned into complacency. Dr. John Gottman, whose work on relationships is world-renowned, found that long-term connection depends heavily on what he calls turning toward your partner. Couples who stay emotionally connected keep responding to each other's bids for attention, affection, and interest. She does not need a grand performance every day. What she needs is proof that you still choose her on purpose. A message in the middle of the day, a planned date night, a thoughtful compliment, a moment of effort that says, I still see you, and I am still reaching for you. She may never directly say, pursue me again, because that feels humiliating to ask for. So instead, she often becomes quieter, a little less expressive, a little less invested. By the time she finally speaks, if she ever does, the emotional distance may already be much harder to fix. Men who understand this stay attractive to their partners because they never stop courting the woman they love. Men who forget it often wake up too late and wonder where the connection went. Number 2 is this: be verbally explicit about your desire for her and not in a generic way. Most men think telling a woman she is beautiful is enough. It is appreciated, yes, but it is often the minimum. What truly stays with her is specificity. Not you're beautiful, but the way you look when you're focused completely distracts me. Not you look nice, but I haven't been able to stop thinking about how you looked when you walked into that room. Not broad approval, but personal, vivid desire. She wants to feel that your attraction to her is real, detailed, and almost hard for you to contain. Not dangerous, not overwhelming in a negative way, but intense enough that it feels honest. Like she genuinely affects you, like her presence changes your state. That is what creates emotional replay in her mind. Those are the words she remembers at night. Those are the words that make her feel wanted, not just complimented. She will never ask you to speak like this because authentic desire cannot be requested like a checklist item. It only works when it sounds like truth escaping, not performance being delivered. And number one, the one that often creates the strongest reaction is this. Physically guide her with confidence, not aggressively, not disrespectfully, and always within the comfort and trust of the relationship, but confidently. A hand on her waist as you guide her away from traffic, fingers taking hers as you lead her towards something you want to show her. A palm at her lower back as you move through a doorway together, a gentle repositioning that says you are present, grounded, and aware. Research in evolutionary behavioral sciences has shown that women often associate confident, non-aggressive physical guidance with protection, decisiveness, and masculine confidence. This works because it speaks without words. It creates a primal sense that you are embodied, attentive, and capable of taking the lead in a way that feels safe rather than forceful. That is why this matters so much. It is not about dominance for show. It is about confident presence. It is about making her feel that you are not hesitant in your energy, and that when you move toward her, you do it with calm certainty. She will almost never verbalize this desire directly, but when it is done naturally and respectfully, it leaves an impression that is hard to replace. So there you have it. 7 things women silently wish for, deeply feel, and almost never say out loud. And if you stayed with me until this point, then let me tell you something important here on Liz Rose Inspiration. Understanding women is not about manipulation, and it is not about memorizing tricks. It is about emotional intelligence. It is about noticing what goes unsaid. It is about becoming the kind of man who does not just hear words, but understands energy, effort, silence, and emotional subtext. That alone already sets you apart. But remember this, knowing these things means nothing if you do not apply them. Knowledge without action changes absolutely nothing. So do not just store this video in your mind as interesting advice. Use it. Use it in the next quiet moment, the next difficult moment, the next ordinary moment that has the potential to become unforgettable simply because you responded differently. Sometimes the smallest action creates the deepest emotional shift. And before you go, there is one more thing you need to understand. While you have been learning what she secretly wants, she has likely been observing you in ways you do not even realize. She may already be forming conclusions, already deciding how she feels, already leaning in or pulling away without saying a word. That is why your next step matters, because knowing what she wants is only one half of the equation. Understanding the signs she is already giving you is the other half. And when you can read both, that is when your entire dynamic changes. I'm Liz Rose. This is Liz Rose Inspiration. And if you want deeper insight that actually helps you build stronger attraction and connection, stay with me for the next one.